Wow, 1,000 subscribers. Lola, isn't that pretty amazing? She doesn't say much, but I do. I talk a lot, and I just want to thank everyone who's been following this channel and all the newcomers. This is our 1,000 subscriber special, the Big Great Room Tour. We're gonna look at all these goodies I have here, all of my action figures and toys and furry nonsense. I am pretty much a product of the 2000s. I won't deny, I am the Y2K. I collect Shrek, Sonic, Zootopia, everything kind of toon, furry, and in between, and that is preferably plastic. I love action figures. I've collected action figures my whole life, so that's pretty much what we're gonna do. I'm gonna flip the camera around, and we're gonna go on the full tour of my crazy furry figure, cartoon figure obsession. So, without further ado, what do you say? Let's do this, right, Lola? She doesn't talk a whole lot. She's very shy. We're gonna start things right off with a bang with the Shrek collection. I've gotten a lot of questions about the Shrek collection, and well, here you go. Shrek was my earliest childhood memories. I had the original film on DVD, and I was very excited for the sequel. I was only 4 the summer it came out, but man was I excited. These 5 figures up here are not the best Shrek figures. Those were made by McFarlane. No, these are the Hasbro Shrek 2 figures. Not the greatest, but they're the greatest to me because these were the 5 figures I got for my 4th birthday. And the first action figures I can truly remember playing with other than the Star Wars Phantom Menace figures. But to be fair, those Phantom Menace figures were hand-me-downs from my older brother. So Shrek's like the first real toy line I collected, new in package. I remember cracking those open when I was just 4 years old, the first figures I ever opened up. There was the Shrek here, you squeeze him and he farts. Donkey, which smells like waffles, though not anymore. I can't find any samples that still have that great smell. Puss and the Gingerbread Man, who smell like gingerbread. Even Puss in Boots smells like gingerbread. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I distinctly remember my Puss figure smelling like gingerbread. Fiona, who strangely comes with a bowling set themed to Prince Charming, and the Dragon, which, man, this is such a great figure. I'll show you my loose one down here, but this Dragon is such an impressive figure to be a part of the basic line and not be a deluxe. So, good segue here to the actual Shrek figures. These are all of my kind of 6-inch Shrek figures, and I kind of try to keep a definitive set right here of the in-scale characters. So there's Fiona, Shrek, Puss in Boots and Kitty Softpaws, Donkey, and Farquaad. And I really had to dig and assemble these. Like, none of these are by the same manufacturer. For example, this Shrek Knight figure is probably my favorite Shrek I own, and that was made by MGA. Yeah, MGA, the doll company that does Bratz. They made a surprisingly good Shrek figure. The Fiona's the Hasbro one, and then Puss and Kitty, these are actually movie theater cup toppers. I featured them in one of my furry figures video, but for some cup toppers, they scale fantastically with the Shrek figures, as opposed to the actual figures, which are pretty poorly out of scale. Here's Shrek and Donkey when they turn human in the sequel. I didn't have these figures as a kid because these two are very rare. They were released at the tail end of the Shrek 2 line, and for years I didn't even know these existed. When I saw examples of these out in the wild, I was like, what? I didn't know they made those. These are kind of like my excess Ogre Boys over here. Some of my kids' meals, just other stuff. There's the cup that those figures came on. And then some of my favorite obscure pieces back here. Here's the Shrek Dixie cup holder. You're supposed to brush your teeth with Shrek, but man, that's a good figure right there. This is a Fiona lamp that was intended to be part of like a bedroom set. Kind of an oddity there. There's a Shrek 4 figure. The Shrek 4 toy line is such an oddity. These figures, I can barely find any documentation of them online. There's like nothing, so if anyone out there knows anything about the Shrek Forever After action figures, do contact me and let me know if they made a Warrior Fiona. I would like to have that. I just have the Happy Meal warrior Fiona. But if there's an articulated figure of her, I would like to know. And probably my favorite piece of the entire Shrek collection is the Shrek dragon that was pretty much the main piece of my most recent episode of Furry Figures. I actually made that episode the day I got that dragon because I was just so excited that I found that in a thrift store. This dragon has long been my holy grail. Finding her intact with all of her pieces is a near impossible task. So to find her thrifted, totally amazing. So if these are all of my nice 6-inch Shrek figures, this is everything else. This is where I have stuffed all of the Happy Meals, keychains, promotional figures, everything that kind of doesn't scale or look good next to each other. I do have a nice Fiona doll, and I made that out of a Barbie. I think it's pretty decent. And I needed some verticality to the display because I filled this shelf very quickly, as you can see. There are a lot of just random Shrek PVC figures. So I took the castle from Narnia, Prince Caspian, and I've used that to display my Shrek figures. So that is the Shrek collection. You know, you kind of tie the whole thing together with some signs from Hot Topic and you call it good. I love collecting Shrek figures, and there is too many of them and not enough at the same time. Does that make any sense? There's lots of little Shrek figures in various scales, but as for a complete, cohesive toy line, you pretty much have to piece together a bunch of different lines, like the Hasbro Shrek 2 line, the McFarlane original Shrek line, and the often forgotten Shrek the Third and Shrek 4 figures. So that's what I've put together, and I do hope to grow this collection. When the 5th movie comes out, maybe they'll make some more toys, and I can have a whole Shrek bookshelf of figures. Wouldn't that be fun? Another one of my big lines next to Shrek is Sonic the Hedgehog. And man, I was reluctant to collect Sonic for years. I was just not happy with the Jazzwares figures. I know people love them, but I needed some 6-inch, colorful, fun figures. And man, did Jax answer my prayers. The Jax Sonic line is by far the greatest modern action figure line. It's better than Marvel Legends. It's better than anything McFarlane is making. This line is absolute perfection, and I'm very happy to dedicate 3 shelves now to this line. You'll notice some empty spots as I do plan on filling these shelves with some of the more recent releases. There's a lot of great stuff coming out of this line. The 2-inch figures are very fun, and if it was just them, I would say it would be a pretty good line, but man, I'd be lying if these 4, 5, and 6-inch figures, because they kind of scale by character, are not truly amazing, so colorful and so fun. I cannot wait to see how much further Jax fills out the Sonic universe. This is a must-buy line for anyone out there that loves cartoon and furry figures. And can I just say how colorful these are? They just absolutely pop. A really, really amazing collection that I am proud to say I have. Tucked all the way at the bottom here are my Narnia figures. I love the Narnia books, and they made some really impressive action figures, especially for 2005, 6 when these all came out. They look great, they're nicely articulated. I would love to give these a beautiful kind of battle display, but it really just comes down to space. I live in California. It is a very expensive place to live, and you just can't find houses with big rooms, so I'm limited on space, and until I move, Narnia is sadly going to have to be tucked in at the bottom here. This is the great miscellaneous fantasy shelf. Pretty much anything I consider kind of D&D, Zelda adjacent goes here. I just think all these kind of blend nicely. Sure, they're not all from the same thing, but you know, they all kind of have that Ren Fair aesthetic going on. And you can definitely see a very anthro theme. I tend to collect non-human, furry characters, wolves, gargoyles, elves. I am all about that stuff. How many fun fantasy characters can you name in this collection? That would be a kind of fun game to play. Sometimes even I can't keep track of all these characters. Like, who's this? Do you know who this is? Okay, here's the answer. It is Princess Zelda's hot mom. Yep, that's true. And this is the perfect segue, being kind of fantasy roleplay figures, to my bottom shelf, which is all of my fantasy roleplay books. D&D, all the Dungeons and Dragons, my ElfQuest comics I've talked about on the channel, as well as just various Zootopia, Shrek, Dark Crystal, Narnia. You can see what I like. It's all kind of the same flavor. And the real reason these books are all here is to kind of anchor down the figure shelf. When you display a bunch of action figures on a shelf like this, it can kind of teeter, so you want to have a strong foundation. So I just put all the fantasy books there, and it kind of nicely segues into my fantasy figures and Shrek figures. And that's that shelf. And who watches the fantasy shelf? The ever-beautiful Imp Midna. This was a lovely, gorgeous, and sexy print done by Miles DF, one of my favorite furry artists ever. My plush figures, unfortunately, do not have their own spot, so they're kind of just spread throughout the room. So here is the first shelf of plush cartoon characters. Some of my favorites: the Squirrel from the Great Wolf Lodge, the amazing Coco Bandicoot plush by Kid Robot. Man, is this plush such a good representation of the character. And, of course, Fish Police. Come on now, who remembers Fish Police? Above my bed, it's another cavalcade of plush. A nice mixture of Shrek, Sonic, and other stuff. Yep. Probably the crown jewel of this collection is my Cal Toy Sonic Sat I Am plush. I really love the classic Sonic television show by Deke Animation, and this small plush is one of the few toys they made directly based off it. It's a very expensive plush, and I didn't even know it. I found this in a bin at a yard sale for $1. I was not aware they made this plush. I just bought it because I saw the dots in the eyes, and something about this Sonic just reminded me of the Jaheel White version of the character. And it turns out, yeah, this is a very rare plush, loosely based off the TV show. There's even a fan plush you can buy of Bunny Rabbit that scales with the Sonic. Yeah, this plush was actually made to go with this classic Sonic plush as kind of a fantasy line of plush. They actually made all the Freedom Fighters in this line, but unfortunately I could only get my hands on Bunny. Sally did sell out rather quickly, but hey, maybe someday I'll add her to the plush pile. I have a weird bed that kind of has all these slots to put things, so I've put them to good use and kind of stuffed them full of collectibles. I don't have much to say on these. They are just nice assortments of things. So, if you like any of these things, if you have any questions about the room tour in general, just let me know. Okay, this box is too cool not to show on its own. This was another thrift store find, believe it or not. And this is some kid's, art project. He took classic pages of the vintage Archie comics and kind of papier-mâché glued them together into this amazing box. And it's even got a full interior. Look at this, man. It's amazing. And it's got Sally all over it, so it's automatically one of my favorite pieces. Simply because it has a story. I would love to know what kid made this. He must have really loved Sonic. Too cool. There he is, Brimstone the Bull, my fursona. And this is how I display my fursuit. You may be surprised to see such a small pile here, but Brimstone is pretty much just a head, paws, and tail, kind of a partial, with just a kind of pants and skin-tight biker short. He's not a traditional fursuit. Now, I have worn traditional fursuits before in this channel, and even to conventions and events, and man, God bless the people that do it because they are troopers. I just get a heat stroke when I wear a full fursuit, so I decided to make the Brimstone character as something I could easily wear and make videos with. And man, has he gone over so well. People love this guy, and I thank you all for the love and just nothing but generosity, because people enjoy Brimstone. I hear that he's different and unique, And that's what I really aimed to do, was make a different type of furry character. You know, he's always wearing that red bathrobe and those goofy pants, and that has been immortalized in the custom action figure that I just made. This is a Marvel Legend that I made based off Brimstone. The body is just like a generic Mr. Fantastic, and the head was taken from this Doctor Strange Minotaur. So I have a bunch of Bull and Minotaur figures to accompany the head, because I'm a toy guy, and if I'm gonna dress like this, I better have some toys that kind of look like Brimstone. Right, we got the Minecraft cow, a cowboy of Moo Mesa. It's a really fun line of toys, and man, I gotta get more of those. Expect me to get some more Moo Mesa figures in the future, because they're too cool to ignore. But yeah, this is Brimstone. How the head is held up is not a mannequin head. A mannequin head was actually too light for Brimstone. And mighty Brimstone, he brought that mannequin head down. So that is a vintage thermos. Let me see if I can show you a little inside the mouth. I don't know if this is going to show on camera, but there is a vintage kind of Aladdin thermos in there. And that is what holds up the Brimstone head. So pretty happy with how that is displayed. At least for now. Maybe I'll buy some more fun stuff for him to wear, and I'll have to add it to this display. I may dress up like a Halloween costume every day, but it may be no surprise that I actually prefer Christmas over Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. It is the holiday of toys and cartoons and classic Rankin Bass specials. And with these amazing figures they made in the 2000s, I can own a piece of Rankin Bass. These are really cool, underrated figures. They made them from 2000 all the way up until, I think, 2007 or 8. But man, they made everything. I've got all of the elves here. The young Santa Claus from Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And then here's the main Rudolph gang. And I really love these Misfit toys. I kind of posed them around the fireplace like, you know, at the end of the special when they get rescued. And King Moonracer is one of my favorite furry figures. He'll definitely be featured in a future episode of my furry figures series because, man, he is gorgeous. He's flocked. He's got little hair, like a hair lion mane. He just looks like a puppet. And really, that's what makes these figures so awesome, is that the detail was put into them to make them look like props, like puppets from the special. I love how they all use mixed media, cloth pieces, little metal jingle bells right there in Santa Claus' hand, anything to ensure that the figures were as show accurate as they could be. They also made the Miser Brothers, which I don't have. I have this kind of plush of the Snow Miser and this bobblehead that I've stuck in. So they're going to be the fill-ins for now until I can get the proper Miser Brothers. I would love to one day own this whole collection. You could actually collect Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty. They did a whole Frosty line. They did Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And they did Year Without a Santa Claus. They even did Mad Monster Party and Peter Cottontail, if you need a little more holiday variety. Truly awesome what was accomplished here. And they weren't even all made by the same company. This line was actually split between several different companies. Diamond Select made a few of the figures. A company called Playing Mantis made the real meat of the line, you know, Rudolph and the gang, Homie the Elf, right, the real popular characters. But you also had smaller companies do Frosty, and the Year Without a Santa Claus, I think, was done by Palisades and NECA. So it's truly awesome what was accomplished here. It was like the whole toy industry came together in the mid-2000s and said, let's build a collectible Rankin Bass universe. And they made this awesome collection. I've only got a small amount, but this line is very, very tough to get. These figures have become highly desirable, so I never pass up a chance to buy these. And here's a collector's tip. Don't shop for these at Christmas time. Every year, these action figures skyrocket during the month of December. I don't know, like, people just get this feverish need for these toys, and I can't blame them. They're cool figures, but wait till after Christmas. January, February, March is the best time to buy this line. It's when people are downsizing their Christmas decorations, and you can find some of these for literally half the price on eBay. When it's not Christmas, it's fall, and this shelf is dedicated to Night in the Woods, my favorite video game ever made. I did make a video unboxing this awesome collector's edition, which includes a full acrylic playset of the town of Possum Springs, allowing you to recreate the world of Night in the Woods. I absolutely adore this game, and I truly believe that this game saved my life, came at a time in my life where I needed it most, and I will forever hold it near and dear. So to be able to dedicate a whole shelf to it of collectibles is simply awesome. Now we move on to what I call the doll shelf. This is a big coffin that was actually a dollhouse made for Monster High dolls. And I have a bit of a story with Monster High. It's kind of one of my pre-furry things. My sister actually owned and collected these dolls, and I played with these dolls with her. And Laguna Blue, the fish girl you are seeing here, specifically the classic Laguna here, was probably one of my first real crushes I can remember. I was 12 years old playing with those dolls, and I totally had a thing for Laguna, the fishy girl, and I liked Laguna, but I didn't like regular girls, and there began the furry ruination of my life, right? Hey look, she's a fish, she totally counts as Anthro. And Monster High was brought back recently with the G3 dolls, and a new version of Laguna that is absolutely stunning. I love the G3 Laguna. I've bought some of these dolls here. This is the basic one, and I love the swimsuit on her here. This is the Spa Day Laguna. Very cute top. I love the good waves only and kind of the big robes she's got on. And the Monster Ball, where she's all kind of done up for the dance. And I totally like this new design, especially the legs. They're kind of these clear blue translucent plastic where you can see right through them. Absolutely awesome. I am happy to see that the spirit of Laguna is still well and alive in the 2020s. Classic fish girl. Love you, Laguna. Now we move on to the bunnies. This is my tribute to bunny girls. Fish girls, bunny girls. So you won't see a lot of Judy here because that's going to be in the Zootopia display. But I do have one Judy, and that's my collector's Bondi Judy Hops. This is the 6-inch fully articulated Judy, probably my #1 action figure ever. And if you're wondering why she's posed this funny stuck in the donut, well, one, it's because this is from a deleted scene from the original Zootopia script, so kind of a fun reference. 2, it looks cute, I like it. And 3, I actually own 3 of these Judy figures, so you will see more of them in the video. Okay, moving on, these are my cartoon bunnies. We've got the Lola Bunny, we've got the Cadbury Caramel Bunny, used for the chocolate brand. She got some awesome figures. Here is the bunny girl from One Piece. I couldn't tell you anything about One Piece other than stretchy pirates and hot bunny women. And this is a Playboy statue that is real. They really made this to promote Playboy magazine, and I totally love her. These are some Lola prototypes, actually, unpainted test shots of action figures. Very unique and interesting. And it's just some more Lolas and PVC bunny figures. And finally, we have this very spicy bunny cover here. Whoa. This was done by a great artist named Pharaoh, who has done some really great furry work over the years. Okay, moving on down. Here is the Pinky Cooper and Friends shelf. Now, Pinky Cooper, you can see a boxed sample behind these loose ones here, was a fashion doll from the early 2010s of a dog girl who traveled the world as a fashion superstar. The line did not do well. It wasn't a huge hit. Come on, Pinky, you gotta stand. These dolls are tough to stand. I have stands for the other two, just not that one. But this line was not a huge hit. It only got one wave, and the rest of it was canned. But man, I am just happy these exist. These were designed by the great Bryant Carter of Bratz fame, so a lot of talent, a lot of love was poured into this line. And in recent years, Pinky Cooper has exploded in popularity. This just kind of went from being, hey, remember those dog dolls, to, wow, it's Pinky Cooper. These dolls are like grail material now for some people. I cannot believe what these go for on the secondary market. I found all these ones at flea markets. We call them swap meets here in California. That's like a local name for a flea market. Even the boxed one I found at a swap meet. And it's just crazy to see how much she's blown up in popularity. I'm really hoping with the recent success of Pinky Cooper, and they even did a recent comic book. There's a new indie comic about Pinky where I think she goes to hell. And I have to read that. I have to check that out. Really, it's like called Pinky and Ginger Forever, I think is what it's called. And they both go to hell. And that's the comic. And I am just hoping that we get some reproductions or some new dolls soon because, I mean, you know these dolls. Everyone knows these. Pinky Cooper is popular now. She's like a symbol of Y2K, right? And cool 2000s aesthetics. Love you, Pinky. Okay, moving on to our final doll shelf and kind of the most bizarre of them all, my Medusa tribute. I try to keep shelves as tributes to different Anthro characters, like we had the Fish Girl Laguna shelf and the Bunny shelf, right? Like, kind of like by species. And I had to do a shelf dedicated to Gorgons. I love Greek myth. That's why my character Brimstone is a Minotaur. Classic Greek stories are a favorite of mine. And no character is better emblematic of those than the great Medusa. Monster High made some awesome Medusa dolls here that I have kind of dressed up in some fun outfits, a swimsuit and a hot dress. And I have all these kind of stone action figures that are her petrified victims. Oh no! They've been turned to stone. And I don't have to dress up any of these dolls, because hey, stone statues don't wear clothes, right? So there is my Medusa and Gorgon tribute. The final section is the overflow shelf. That coffin shelf is very particularly shaped and cannot hold all of my dolls, so this is where everyone else goes. How about that? Okay, let's talk about my desk. I pretty much do everything by phone these days, as most people do, but I was a laptop kid. Growing up as a teenager in the 2010s, I lived by the laptop, so to me, just having a desk setup just feels natural. It just feels right. And I try to surround myself with some of my absolute favorites at the desk, so when I'm browsing my computer, I have great stuff to look at. So let's start from the top here. We have a Mrs. Brisby animation cell. This is not a production piece of Mrs. Brisby. This is actually a promotional item from recent conventions. You would see this when Don Bluth was signing, I believe. So you'd buy one of these and he would sign it, Don Bluth, you know, you'd get a meet and greet. Unfortunately, I have not got to meet Don Bluth, but I do have one of these not signed. And I think that makes this more interesting. Like, obviously this was meant to be signed, and why was this one not signed? I don't know, I just think it's neat, and I do love Mrs. Brisby, the world's best mouse mama. Okay, now we have some spicy art prints. These are all by Miles DF, the artist I mentioned earlier in the video. Miles is probably my favorite furry artist. I love the way he draws Judy Hopps and Bunny Girls and all the classic furry babes. Here is one of the best scenes ever, the ending of the original Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube, a game I played when I was a small child and probably ruined my life. This is the final scene in which the beautiful warrior Crystal is freed from her crystal prison and decides to reward Fox McCloud with a seduction tease. It is in a kid's game. Yes, I don't know what Nintendo was thinking, but I thank you, Nintendo, for turning me to furrydom. And now, moving down, we have kind of the science fiction and cartoon shelf. I have a lot of fantasy paired together, but these are all space guys, for the most part. Obviously, gargoyles are not space, but they were 90s and they kind of fit in. This is just Star Fox, Bucky O'Hare, Titan AE, you know, all 90s, fully 2000s space. You know, it's got a look, you have to agree. Even though none of these are from the same thing, they do look like they go together. So, I really don't have any hard rules for my collection. At the end of the day, it's all furry and it's all toys. So I just kind of try to group pairings of figures that I think would look good together. Very colorful and fun. I don't like no boring drab figures. We need some color in this collection. And here is another Miles DF print. This one is great. It is a captive crystal, that same character from Star Fox, and she's all chained up and pouty. Love it. These are all of my role-playing and Dungeons & Dragons figures, and with a very few exceptions, the vast majority of these are not only vintage, but are actually my dad's. He used to role-play back at conventions in the 1980s, and these are his figures that he painted and used. And you can kind of see, you know, a little bit of where I come from. I inherited a lot from my parents. And look at the duck. Look at the duck and the Minotaur. Aren't they great? I think he put a lot of love into these, and I really respect what he did. These are fantastic figures. And boy, you know, 40 years later, do they still hold up. Look at the Rat Warriors. How cool. These are all vintage, kind of D&D, Walpatha roleplay figures. Very cool. These wooden shelves sit directly above me, so I kind of just try to keep my favorites, like, you know, the hot sister from Lilo and Stitch, and the great Patrick Warburton as Kronk, just character favorites. Yeah, I know both these Amy's should technically be with the Sonic shelf, but man, I love Amy Rose, and I just want, like, to take my favorites and just stick them there, so I can always look at them when I am browsing the computer. This is a carbonite block with a Fortnite bear stuck in it. This was one of my favorite toys as a kid. This comes from a Star Wars playset called the Carbon Freezing Chamber. And it was this big module where you would lock figures up at the top and lower them down an elevator, and the figures would magically become frozen in carbonite. I don't have the playset anymore, but I have the best piece of it, and that's the carbon block. You can stick any action figure in here, and they will look like they have been encased in carbonite. And that is just too cool. Funko Pops. I feel like everyone has these, right? Even if you don't want them, you just end up with them. I've not been a huge fan of the simplistic ones without mouths, but some of the recent Funko Pops have actually really turned a corner. These three in particular have mouths. Oh my goodness, it's a miracle. You can make a Funko Pop with a mouth. And they look just like the characters they're trying to emulate. The lovable furry icons Maid Marian and Coco Bandicoot, and a great figure representation of Rebecca Cunningham from Tailspin, an all-time favorite with that one. Funko really knocked it out of the park and gave us an excellent Rebecca figure. Just awesome. The Dark Crystal can hold the record as the first non-human fantasy film not done in animation. It's all puppetry, and it is a favorite of mine. These three figures are from the Netflix show, but if you're looking for something a little more classic, check these out. These are the metal Dark Crystal roleplay figures, and these are just gorgeous. Look at the detail on the Skeksis, check out the pod people, and their little table where they're having drinks. Man, do I love these. These are some of my favorite figures right here. This was an excellent find at a Goodwill, and these figures are highly desirable. My goodness, are they expensive. But hey, I would say they're worth it. They are just awesome. This Fawn Girl is a Skylander, and I dig her. Unfortunately, we never got an action figure of Elora, Spyro's awesome Fawn girlfriend, but I will settle with the Skylander's Fawn for now. This is another favorite piece of mine. I'm not talking about the Ewok head or the Ice Age figure, but those are both fun. But that fish in the middle is a figure of Milo from Fish Hooks, the Disney Channel cartoon. I did not know they made any merchandise of Fish Hooks. I found this one again in a flea market pile. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I love to flea market hunt and find weird things. And I think my heart stopped when I saw this because I didn't even know what it was. It's a keychain of Milo, and he's got this, you can see a 2000s Disney Channel tag. Oh, there he goes falling. Check it out. He's got that awesome Disney Channel tag, and it looks just like the character in 3D form. And it turns out this was a promo given away at San Diego Comic-Con in, I believe, 2009 or 10 or 11. I don't know, one of those 3 years. How this very fragile figure ended up at a flea market pile in 2023, you know, over a decade later, is beyond me. Anyways, here's Robin Williams from Robots. There's the Coca-Cola polar bear, but hot. And here are the Fortnite Little Red Riding Hood and Wolf set. Good figures. Here are some Smurfs, mainly just the girls. And here's some more Ice Age figures. Okay, let's move to the bottom of the shelf. We have a big Claudine, who used to have a volleyball. Where did her volleyball go? Look, it's back there. Let's get it back to her. And we're back, and thankfully Claudine has that ball. Hey, it happens when you have this many collectibles. Things fall and get a little out of hand, especially when you got the craziness that I got going on here. So the volleyball is the perfect lead-in to my kind of summer beach theme I've got going on here. I kind of just wanted like a bunch of beautiful swimsuit-clad women on my desk. And so to justify that and, you know, have a little bit of theming, I have this summer beach scene. You know, I live in California. I love going to Huntington Beach. So I've got a little slice of that beach right here, furry style. So let's start with this holiday ensign. This is an awesome piece. This comes from a Play School playset way back in the day. And man, does that sign pop. I love vintage Americana, roadside attractions. I grew up going on trips to Las Vegas and seeing all the fun stuff in the desert. This classic holiday ensign is too cool. Here's a cat girl and a D&D girl. And here is Judy Hopps. Again, that same Judy figure. I told you I have multiples. And she's our trusty lifeguard, you know, enforcing the law as she does. But it looks like she's getting a little bit of a peep at the beauty pageant going on here. A little bit of a swimsuit contest. And check it out where these ladies have placed. In third place, we have the fabulous Tigra, Meow. Second place, the terrifying yet beautiful Demona the Gargoyle. And in number one, another Meow Wow. It's Katrina the Kitty from He-Man. Probably three of my favorite 6-inch furry ladies right here. All three are uber articulated and can strike any pose. And man, do they just look great. I am going to make a video pretty soon of like a whole big beach setup out in my backyard. So I'll probably carry these ladies over. That'll be fun to do. Maybe in the summertime. Finally, here is my phone battery charger that I bring to conventions and events. This is actually my most recent purchase. I got this at PDFC, and it was a pretty cool con exclusive. At first, I was a little confused why they were selling these themed chargers. Then it dawned on me, yeah, you're gonna need one of these at a convention, so why not get a cool themed one? So I think that's a great idea for a souvenir, and I would totally be down if every furry con did one of these. I would collect a whole bunch of phone chargers with different designs on them. I think it would be cool. And thanks, Spyro, you're a great helper for holding that up. So this is my bedroom door. So this is behind my door, what you don't usually see, and that is my red bathrobe. Now, I wear this robe around the house. I'm a bathrobe kind of guy. It's a very comfortable robe, made of nice, silky cashmere. Not cashmere, just kind of like silk, you know? Cashmere would be too heavy. But it's by Snoop Dogg. It's called Dog Supply, and it's a brand by Snoop himself. And I started wearing this over the Brimstone fursuit, and it just kind of became the icon of the Brimstone character. Now people love seeing that red robe with Brimstone. So I think it's funny how I did not originally intend this to be a part of my persona, but now it has. Now I'm the guy with the big, goofy red robe, and I'm okay inheriting that title. Okay, moving up. This is a character design sheet of Rotor that was used in the production of the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon from the 90s. I found this at a comic book convention in a $5 bin labeled Unknown Cartoon Pieces. And I'm like, that's Rotor. Pretty neat. The first thing I ever collected before Shrek, I mentioned, was Star Wars, which I inherited from my father and older brother. The Ewoks were my favorites, and this Wicket plush here was my childhood favorite Wicket. So as a tribute to my love for Star Wars, which is not quite furry, I must admit, I do collect perhaps the furriest aspect of Star Wars, and that is the Ewoks. I have all of the vintage Ewoks here, including some of the very challenging ones to get, such as Ramba and Walk. I think they're awesome action figures. as a toy guy, you have to appreciate what Star Wars did for toy collecting, and that was really modernizing it and inventing collect them all, you know? Star Wars invented the modern action figure and the modern world of merchandising, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Here are some of the more modern Ewok figures. I love that Disney has recently been doing some of the TV show Ewoks, like Princess Nisa here, and some of these fun classic ones, like this Ramba here is not a kennel original, but it is a cool PVC at Downtown Disney that I think makes for a nice substitute. So, you know, if you want Ramba, this guy here, but don't want to spend a couple $100s, you can just go to Downtown Disney and get this little guy here. So whether vintage or modern, they've been doing awesome work with the Ewoks, and I am proud to show some Yub Nub love. Come on, people, let's get some Yub Nub love going around here. Those little teddy bears are vicious. They took down the Galactic Empire. Do not judge them by their size. In Zootopia, anyone can be anything, and I have decided to become a crazy collector. I was there opening day in 2016, and this was another one of those kind of watershed moments for my furrydom, where I realized who and what I was. So I have dedicated what was intended to be my closet to be the world of Zootopia. Again, this is what happens when you're tight on space. So down there is my actual closet where I keep my clothes. But up here is the land of Zootopia. So this is actually a Calico Critters city with the Zootopia police station playset in the middle. And I think they make for nice shelving units. You may recall, years ago, back in the channel's history, I was quite into Calico Critters and Sylvanian families. And I've kind of moved on to collecting the greater world of furry, but I still did keep my favorites, which I have right here. So these are my absolute favorite Calico Critters. Can't ignore them, they are a great Anthro furry collectible. And along the top are some original carded samples from the 1980s. Very cool. And since Zootopia is home to all animals, I call Zootopia my overflow collection because I really do keep everything here. All my Disney and Toon figures that just don't fit into, say, Sonic or Shrek, or they're not, you know, a 6-inch articulated swimsuit girl that can be a part of my beach scene, right? Just kind of everything else finds its place here in Zootopia. And I have some smaller vignettes too, like, you know, these are all Robin Hood figures, and then here is the Rescue Rangers team, which someday I hope we'll get a whole Rescue Rangers team in action figure form, but that has yet to pass yet. And in the center here is kind of the main Zootopia figures. And there's not as many as you would think, despite the movie being a sensation and, you know, making $1 billion. There's not much merch past the original 2016 line, which was kind of aimed at very small children. There are these cool figures, I'll admit it, they are cool, and they have a lot in common with, say, Imaginext. They're very small, kind of chunky looking figures with police cars and bad guys, so it's a fun line for the kids. But when it comes to collector figures, we only ever got the Bondi 6-inch Nick and Judy that came out right when the movie did. I think a lot of people slept on this pair, and that's why they're so desirable. I searched for years to find these, and last Christmas, it's funny, I was searching for these figures for years, and the Judy came up last Christmas, and I just bought it, and it was not cheap, I won't lie, but I saved my money and I bought it. And then about a month later, you'll recall in the channel, that Nick video came out because I received an opportunity to buy a collection, and that collection included Nick and 2 other Judys. So I went from having none in the course of a month to having 3 Judys and a Nick. And those other ones I think I paid a very fair price for. And I'm so happy to have them because they are gorgeous figures. I mean, you just see the camera rotating around them. They look magnificent. That's not to, you know, diss on the kid figures. They are fun, but they're pretty basic and non-articulated. Mostly just PVC figures. And here's some of the plush. Now, they have been good about Zootopia plush. This Judy one here just came out at Disneyland. And they've been making some very nice collector plush, like Judy in her formal outfit here. My favorite Judy outfit, love that she got a nice plush, but would like a figure of that as well. Maybe for Zootopia 2, we will get some proper articulated action figures. There is one rare piece in the original Zootopia line, and that is this Gazelle doll. They did make Gazelle, you're looking at her right now, and she was a 12-inch fashion doll. Interesting, but I like that they made that decision. It actually makes her to scale. If you'll recall, Gazelle is quite big in the movie compared to the other characters. Zootopia has a lot of scaling going on, so I think it's cool they made her big, because she does scale nicely with the 6-inch Nick and Judy. They look good when you put them next to each other. And finally, we move on to the last part of Overflow. These are just all my Disney and Warner Brothers cartoon figures, even some Rudolph that didn't fit in the display. My rule is if it doesn't fit on the shelves, you get Zootopia. And look, I even have space over here, so I can stuff more figures I find. Someday I'll have a big room and a big house, and you know, I could give dedicated sections like, say, an Emperor's New Groove shelf. Like, wouldn't that be cool? But for now, they go to Zootopia. And there's nothing wrong with that, because who wouldn't want to be a part of this amazing town I have constructed? Here are some more plush, all sorts of Disney and cartoon characters in plush form. How about that? This one's pretty interesting. This is a cell from a cartoon called Daniel Mouse and the Devil. It's a Halloween special from the 70s that I love. And that right there is Jan, my favorite character from the special. That's a screen-used cell animation piece. And peeking in the back there is one of my more unique plushes. That is the Gypsy Fox. That's a beautiful plush, handmade by my friend Albert. Very cool. Part of his Kooky Trails project you may have heard of. Oh, hello there, Lola. You've appeared again, and it appears you have not much to say, except standing there and judging me. Why are you judging me? Is it over all this? So here's the final portion of my collection, the physical media corner. I tried to not collect physical media for a while. I was just a toy guy. I said I wouldn't dip my toe into this. And then, one by one, the movies I wanted to watch stopped appearing on streaming platforms, and I realized the importance of physical media. Physical media is so important. You need to buy physical media. You cannot trust these companies to handle your favorite films on streaming services where they will often get delisted, they will have licensed music stripped from them, they will even have entire scenes removed. It is unbelievable what is happening. So the time to buy physical media is now. Especially Disney. I try to have all of the Disney films, including the Disney Afternoon cartoons, and these are some great releases. Disney really knocked it out of the park with the physical media. Like, look at the Emperor's New Groove here. It had a 2-disc special edition with some fantastic special features that you won't find on Disney+. I was just watching my Tailspin box set the other day. The Gummy Bears, DuckTales, these are classics, fun to just pop in, even if you're gonna turn them on in the background. You know, just for some flavor, it's fun. Here's some of my non-Disney stuff. These are all of my Don Bluth and kind of cool early 80s animation like The Last Unicorn, some Ralph Bakshi, some 90s stuff like Titan AE and all of the other reindeer with the great Drew Barrymore. All of my favorites. Here is the DreamWorks shelf, which includes a lot of Shrek and some other good stuff. Come on, I have to do my Ogre Boy right in the physical media department. DreamWorks always delivers in DVD. And as of the time of this video, DreamWorks has Disney beat 10-1 when it comes to physical media. You can easily collect all of the DreamWorks films in fantastic multi-disc collector's versions, and that makes me very happy. Here are some more various animation releases. Let me know if you've seen any of these obscure films. I would love to know. Some of my favorite underrated gems from this shelf include The Chipmunk Adventure from the 1980s, which I believe is possibly the best 80s animated kids film, better than even the stuff Disney was putting out. It only gets beat out by All Dogs Go to Heaven, in my book. Fish Police from the 90s, a great TV show aimed at adults. And the more recent release, Under the Boardwalk by Paramount. That movie just blew me away. Such a high-quality film to not get a theatrical release. Such a shame. And here's some more of my TV releases, kind of the Nickelodeon shows, some Sonic cartoons, my personal guilty pleasure, Totally Spies. Yep, I do like it. And the Monster High films. And finally, on the bottom, we have my Christmas specials, and that ends on the Grinch. So I figured, well, if it ends on the Grinch here, that'll be the perfect transition to my Warner Brothers and Chuck Jones shelf, which is this last one here. Just kind of Looney Tunes, various Chuck Jones stuff. Here's some more dolls, more overflow, stuff I just don't have room for. And the final shelf of my collection, my video games. I am not a huge video game collector anymore. I used to have tons of retro consoles, and I sold them all. I actually made a video about it where I kind of went into some of the reasons I don't collect video games. I think the aftermarket is a little too cutthroat for my liking compared to even toys. But with the recent physical media decline, I have noticed a lot of retailers put PS4 games on deep clearance, and I mean deep clearance. Some of these games like Monopoly, I paid $1 for at Walmart last week. I literally bought this for $1. And now you have Sony talking about delisting digital content. And as someone that does play PS4, I decided to make an effort to at least own all of my main games, all the games I absolutely play and love. That includes all of the Sonic games, and the Crash and Spyro games, and even some of my favorite independent games, like Night in the Woods, which got an amazing physical release that came with those figures I showed off earlier. Grim Fandango, the classic LucasArts point-and-click adventure. I love that this got a physical release. Some other indie games like Spiritfarer. Like, I guarantee you in a few years this game will be pretty expensive when people, try to buy or play a game that's been delisted. One of the more recent releases that, this is just the proof that physical media is dying. I had a lot of trouble tracking down Shrek Racing for the PS4. This is actually an awesome game. For a licensed kids game, it's a wonderful love letter to Shrek and DreamWorks fans. I would highly recommend picking this up, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a hell of a hard time finding this game. It was like pulling teeth. You can't find it on eBay. You can't find it in store. I had to, literally watch the Target phone app like a hawk and buy it when it showed up. So definitely pick this one up while you still can and collect physical media, because it's getting crazy. I mean, PS4 is not a retro game console. There's no reason PS4 games should be tough to find. Yet, I feel like we're already getting at that point where people are wishing they had bought the games they played. So, I'm not going all in with game collecting, but I did want all my favorite games, the Sonic, the Crash Bandicoots, so I could at least say, hey, as a consumer, I own these games. Wow. Austin, you're crazy. I know, I am nuts. But the collection only continues to grow. That was just, a look into my crazy brain. I'm telling you, if you met me in person, I could give you the full tour, which would be many hours long. We didn't even dive into my bins of extra figures and nonsense. I could go on, and that's why I have this channel. I wanted to make a resource for collecting this type of stuff, because there are amazing resources for collecting action figures and toys from the 80s and 90s, but nothing specifically from the 2000s or of my furry interests. You don't see anyone talking about the Zootopia or the Shrek action figures, so that's what I do. I just prattle on about the things I love, and we're going to continue making videos on here in Fursuit as the cow, the very popular Brimstone character. People love him. That's me, I'm the cowman. And then also my Furry Figures series, where, I talk about this stuff right here. So whether it's through the shorts, videos, I'll continue to showcase the collection and all the new wacky stuff I pick up. So thank you all for your support, especially those of you that have been here since the very beginning and said, hey, this is a fun channel that piques my interest. I get so many people that message me and say, there's no one else making content like this. So I thank you all for your support. I really do. with 2025 coming up. I know we're just opening up the new year, but 2025, people, is a big year. I don't think people realize this. It's Shrek 5 and Zootopia 2 in the same year. Like, the two movies I have waited the past decade for are coming in the same year, and that's going to be amazing because, truth be told, I don't care about the movies. I care about the toys. And new Shrek and new Zootopia means there's going to be so much good stuff to look for. So I'll have to continue the channel as it is. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and for your continued support. Now, I don't know about you all, but I have a play date with Pinky Cooper here. You know, I'm just going to go play with my Pinky dolls. Bye. Adios.